Well, hey everybody, Nikki Burnett here. Today's Taste Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast streaming live on kuhsdenver.com. We've got a little bit of a different setup right now, waiting for the studio to get back on track. But I'm super excited today to have Dr. Ben Busch on again for the second time. I was thinking that the last time we had you on, was it 2 years ago or more?
It's been a little while.
Yeah, it was a while. And you were still small.
Oh, the business you mean?
Yes, not you.
I'm a big boy.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, we've experienced quite a bit of growth. Thank you for all the patient referrals, but yeah, we have three providers, and we're busting at the seams. Lots of great patient outcomes. So it's a really exciting time.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's fun to watch. And I get excited, kind of, reminiscing on our first meeting and then, kind of all of that has come to fruition. Is that the right word? Come to fruition? Is that the right
Yeah,
word? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Life is evolving as it should. There's
It is.
a lot of manifest destiny here together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. Okay, so we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart that you and I have done a lot of talking about that is now coming into your clinic, which is preconception planning. And I think it's amazing. First things first, though, we always start the show with gratitude because gratitude can change the world. And we talked a little bit about this when we did our talk the other day, but I want to know what you're grateful for.
I am grateful for the fact that people have come around me to help lift me up in
Mhm.
times where we're navigating uncertainty in the medical environment and with sick family members and whatnot. I feel that medicine and life is a team sport. And so I'm really thankful for the other wonderful individuals who have come around me to help lift me up and teach me, like yourself. I'm thankful for Nikki Burnett. Um, but that's what I'm thankful for, is that I don't have to walk alone.
It's such an interesting place to be, and it stinks, but I know that there are the family struggles with some illness and the what it gives you, the tools that it gives you to help others is kind of amazing, even though it's super difficult stuff. But it expands because you're so passionate about working to make things better for you and your family that it just expands everything that you can do for everybody else.
I can't help but think that it's a crucible. Life heats up and
Mhm.
it burns us,
Mhm.
right?
For sure.
But it burns our impurities.
Yeah.
And think of the purifying part of the burn, and that it's helping me give off light. It's interesting. I I don't usually take a lot of stock in messages from fortune cookies, um, but there was one that I
Why?
saw that I actually put it in my wallet, and I found it recently, and it said, "That which is to give light must first endure the burn." And
Yeah.
I know, and I was like,
Mm,
"Ooh, that's a good one."
that is a good
So that's the only fortune cookie that's ever made a difference for me. Um,
one.
it really is a testament that our mess becomes our message,
Mhm.
the why for us. And I think about the insights that I've uncovered in searching in my own health and in the health of my children. And it's so gratifying because it allows us to minister to other people. And we have just person after person whose life is changed. They hug, they cry, they give video testimonies. They love my staff. They become friends and family to me. And it's such a rewarding part of this phase of life with this type of medicine we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome stuff. We're gonna dig into that. I'm excited to dig into it and excited to see where all of this goes. It's been a lot of fun. For me, real quick, so we were just talking about before we jumped on, we're heading up to the high country to go camping. And this is Memorial Day weekend. So I think that first and foremost, super grateful for you and all of your staff members and clinicians there. But super grateful for our military and those who serve us. It's just,
Amen.
yeah, such a good weekend and so grateful to be where we are. We've got a little bit of craziness going on as far as our country's concerned, but You know, we've got such amazing people who are here to serve and have given their lives. So I'm really grateful for that. We have our next door neighbor whose wife and kids are going camping with us. He's Green Beret and is out doing his job, you know, so he won't be able to be there with us, but you know, such amazing people. So that's my gratitude for the day and for the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Good stuff.
Thank you
So
for those who serve. There's a lot of heroes
yeah,
out there.
there's what?
There's a lot of heroes out there.
Tons. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. So I want to, before we jump into our conversation, I think I want to kind of go back a little bit. And we did this for the first show, but I always think it's good to hear stories, where you come from, right? The show's grown since you were on last time, more viewers, more listeners. And so you have an interesting story about how you sort of came into this place of regenerative medicine kind of unintentionally, and I think it's super cool. So if you want to tell us that story, as much of it as you want to tell, that would be good.
Sure, thanks. I do feel the world conspires to bring us to now. I was a hard-charging ER doc, adrenaline junkie type personality, staying up late, working nights, and I had a head injury at one point, snowboarding. Then ended up having a pretty bad mountain bike crash. Really injured my chest, needed a chest tube, hurt my back. And there I was, you know, trying to heal and really having a delayed improvement. And, you know, the surgeons wanted to put rods and screws in my back. And I was like, aren't we supposed to heal? And I was kind of digging back into my osteopathic education, you know, where we learned about the interconnectedness of the body and the importance of structure and function and nutrition and all these other things, and really that the body could heal. So I went down a path doing research and found a local practice that did platelet-rich plasma, and that was injected into my spine. And I saw a DO who helped me manipulate my chest, and I started on amino acids, and it was sort of my initial foray into getting better. Around that time, I was I had young children, and I was, you know, there's, you know, your kids get sick, and you're like, what can you give them? And like the grocery store doesn't have any good stuff for them, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I started doing like literature searches on any evidence for herbal treatments, you know, and you come up with like oregano oil and, you know, elderberry and all this stuff that has like like hundreds of years of data, right?
Yeah.
And so I found myself dabbling into herbal things, and I had my, you know, boards coming up, and I was like, lots of brain fog, and, you know, trying to remember everything for the last 10 years for like this huge recertification emergency medicine exam. So I started getting into like brain nootropics and other things. And so here I was 10 years ago now on this journey because of what my life was looking like. Fast forward into the pandemic, I was already very much advocating for patient understanding and engagement. We find that when patients understand what's happening with them, they're more likely to follow the treatment plan.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Instead of just telling them what to do, you're like, this is why you do it.
Yeah. The why of any treatment is the best, because really, you know, the best providers are working themselves out of a job, right? To help people with the life skills so that they learn how to fish instead of eating a loaf of bread. Right. So there I was. I had a COVID pandemic testing practice. So we went from 0 to 2 locations and 40 employees in 2 months. And we were all of a sudden seeing like 300 patients a day. And it was like bonkers busy. We added on monoclonal antibody infusions. And here I was I was getting an MBA at the time. And they wanted us to do a white paper. And so I chose to really look into how nutritional deficiencies affected the outcomes of COVID. And it turns out, right, aside from washing your hands and wearing a mask, there were a number of predisposing factors that end up being oxidative stress and immune function, and this interplay. And so it brought me back to the basics of biochemistry, my roots. I have a degree in biochemistry. And I started looking around and found some of the ozone colleges and American Medical Group, where I really started going to conferences and meeting these brilliant clinicians who were doing much more than what I saw the typical healthcare providers were doing, who were really bound by the insurance model. So I really dug deep into investigating this stuff. And around that time, I had somebody who is teaching me how to do a cash practice. It was actually a place where we were doing men's surgical spa stuff. So hair transplants, penis enlargements, some pretty cool stuff. I learned how to run a cash practice, but also how to apply surgical skills to things people wanted.
Yeah.
So it was about that time that my business professors were saying, Ben, you should do this. And I was thinking also, Ben, you should do this, because we had literally dozens of people who had long COVID. It was this new phenomenon. And so all these people wanted me to be their doctor. And so we went for it. And so ViveWell Health was born 4 years ago. And now here we are, outgrowing our second facility. We have a number of people, and it's been really exciting since.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's been really fun to watch you grow, and you've got such a, like I said earlier, such a, great people who work with you. I am blessed to be able to work with some of your patients, and it's really fun to kind of co-manage and be a part of the group sort of indirectly. But it's good.
Hopefully we include more. I mean, I think people really benefit from your expertise a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so too. So let's do this. You have created a couple of different types of programs within the regenerative medicine world, right? Your regenerative medicine clinic. And so the one we want to talk about today specifically is the Foundations for Life program.
Yes.
Which is preconception planning. And why is this so amazing? Because anybody who knows me and has heard me talk over the years, it's so much based in epigenetics, which is, nutrition and lifestyle and oxidative stress and inflammation and sleep and regular stress. I mean, all of these things play into why we do or don't get pregnant. And so why don't we sit back, have a little bit of patience, which I know is really hard, and say, okay, I need to be my very best. I and my partner, my spouse, right? So I need to be my very best. So everything that I'm doing and the eggs that I'm producing and the sperm that my spouse is producing, those come together and they're very healthy, right? And we know that we've done everything that we can to be super healthy, because then the chances increase of pregnancy increase, and a healthy pregnancy and healthy birth and healthy babies. So it's so important. And, you said it so beautifully. This is what builds communities.
Yes. Like you said, it's when wonderful people spend time taking care of themselves, they become more of who they are meant to be. I think most of our patients, when they come in sick, they don't feel well, their energy's low, they're toxic, there's mindset things, whether people are living in the future or the past. They may or may not be practicing gratitude, but there's this, accumulation of toxic things. Unfortunately, our environment doesn't make it easy for people to eat the healthiest version of food. And so there's a lot of little choices. And it feels like 1,000 paper cuts sometimes.
It does.
But all of these affect the hormones. And then so here we are, these people they feel like they're surviving instead of thriving. And it's no wonder that this is also manifested in quality of their eggs and sperm. And so, unfortunately, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 people has difficulty with fertility right now, which matches some of the other population trends about how we see autism tremendously increasing, and or the fact that we have like what 77% of children cannot qualify for the military right now because they have chronic illnesses. So we see a large scale population health issue.
Mhm.
And but when we think about the individual people coming together, what makes a community is when these wonderful people have children. And if they're feeling that they're living in the fullness of their life, that they're thriving,
Mhm.
these are the people who make their workplaces better. They make their families better, their block, their street, their neighborhood, their
Mhm.
church. And so when people are thriving, this is the antidote to society's problems that we talked about, because it's not going to be politicians, right? It's
Right.
like you mentioned about the landscape right now. But what we need is amazing people having families and living life to its fullest, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when people have that vibration, they are magnanimous. It is the fullness of life, and it's contagious. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to bring abundance to our community, into people's lives, so that people can live the life that they're supposed to be living into the fullness of their existence.
Yeah, so good. I love it. So would you agree that your reproductive health is kind of reflective of your whole body health?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When Yes, very much so. I'm thinking it's not more of the same, but this is what we do for our patients.
Mhm.
And what we found was we had all these people coming in, and there was part of the mix where people who had maybe a first child and things didn't go necessarily as well as they wanted it to. Maybe their first child had some issues, or they had some issues with the pregnancy, or they were very sick after the pregnancy. We have a number of women who
Yeah.
that first pregnancy really tipped them over, and they had a lot of complications, immune issues, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or vice versa with the men. And so people came in and said, I feel like I need to get healthy to get ready for this. And so, we were accumulating, a medium-sized handful of people, right? I mean, it was growing. And then recently, in the last several months, we had, close to 10 couples who came to us, seeking what we do at
Yeah.
ViveWell Health. And so really we started thinking that we could spread the good news,
Mhm.
the gospel, so it were,
Yeah.
of how to have a healthier babies. And this is something that's also near and dear to my heart. My wife and I had difficulty conceiving children, again, because I was sick. Right?
Mm.
A lot of times, the blame,
Yeah.
or women feel the responsibility of
Yep.
fertility issues. But there's loads of data showing that it's actually, fair enough, an issue with the man too. So, and that was something that I owned with my stress and nights, and, injury and illness
Mhm.
and genetics that I found.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's,
Yep.
there's a lot that plays into that. And so we're trying to increase the awareness of this big issue that is unfortunately something that a lot of people suffer in secret,
Yeah.
right? They look around and they see all these other couples, or they see someone who's like, they weren't even trying, and they accidentally got pregnant, and they wouldn't be good parents. People have these thoughts
Yeah.
in their head.
Yeah.
Sometimes they share them when they shouldn't. um,
Yep.
but ultimately, there are people who feel that this is something they're missing out on. And so it is a chapter in life for people who want that chapter. And so we want to make it available for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, so often it feels like it's like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get pregnant? When and even maybe it's just before that point, why am I so sick? Why does my body fight me? Why does my body hate me? Why do I feel so bad? And then I want to get pregnant, but why do I want to get pregnant right now when I feel so bad, right? It's, this place that many couples sit, I think, and having a full view understanding that fertility is so much more than just egg and sperm,
Yeah.
right? It's a full body, full systems um, approach. Not approach is not really the right word, but to creating little people, right? And so if we're not putting the whole picture together, if we're not understanding the entire body when it comes to genetics, to detox capabilities, right? Because everybody's a little bit different. Doesn't mean it's wrong. And I said this the other day, one of the things that always sticks out for me in one of my first conversations with you was there are no mistakes. And I repeat that constantly because, we look at genetics and we're like, this is what's going on and why maybe you're not quite optimized, but it's not about the way we're made. It's more about this is the nutrients, the nutrient that we can bring in to help that optimization because this is how you're made and it's perfect and it's beautiful, but everybody needs optimization in different ways. So, looking at the lifestyle factors and all of these things that go into what it takes to be healthy enough to conceive.
Yeah. So this is where we landed was a systems biology approach. And I do think that's the right way. I think
Yeah.
many people are looking for tactics,
Yeah.
right? Should I
Yeah.
take this supplement? Should I do this, that, the other? And really, it's with measurables that you can determine an appropriate strategy. A very common term in business and life is, you can't improve what you're not measuring. And so I'm a big fan of measuring what it is that's going on with people. I order a lot of tests on people because we can then determine what it is that we need to track. What are the levers that we need to pull in this person? And it ends up being a very unique constellation for each person. This is something I use, not only do I like to look at the stars, but sometimes you see patterns, right? And people have been doing that for a long time. And when you end up seeing these multiple points put together, there tend to be patterns that emerge. And much of medicine is pattern recognition. So it's the measurables in, the gut, right? We see, problems with inflammation. It's no secret the microbiome is this spectacular, contributory mechanism that is, a trillion friends that we may or may not have invited to the party. But this is where we're at, right? And I think in medicine, it's abundantly clear that this is playing a role, and damage to that microbiome causes hormonal, cytokine, inflammatory reactions that cause oxidative stress and brain fog and potentially even cancer, right? There's all these thoughts. And then you look and which is then, causing absorption issues if people are not digesting their food, which plays right into the genetics where 22% of the enzymes in your body are nutritionally dependent. And so there's this symphony that needs to be tuned. And we can pick up where the buildup is, with things like a homocysteine or saying, wow, you're really consuming a lot of zinc or, whatever that is, right? But then hormones play a big role. We talked about how whether it's traumatic brain injury affecting the hypothalamic pituitary axis or the environmental toxins that are endocrine disruptors, playing a role, or MARCoNS, right? The nasal infection that can, wreak havoc on the HPA axis, and you're swallowing all these toxins, which causes leaky gut and contributes to, we get into like SIRS and moisture, building related issues. And there's this confluence of multiple factors that ends up affecting people's biology, right?
I think it's a point that I think is important for people to hear is so often people come to me and probably to you and they're like, I eat so well. Why is all of this happening? I eat, I take care of myself. And so often there is the assumption that if you don't get a bellyache or heartburn, that your GI is fine. I think that a lot of times we don't realize that things like gut issues have the potential of creating joint pain, cognitive dysfunction, right? Brain fog. And one of the things that you just said that oftentimes people don't put together, that's always a big question that I ask is, have you had a traumatic brain injury?
Mhm.
Ever? Have you had a concussion? Because that automatically leads to a situation of leaky gut. And if it's not addressed, what happens a year, 5 years, 10 years later, right?
Oh, there's
Hmm.
yeah, it's interesting. I speak on traumatic brain injury and neuroinflammation, and like you said, once somebody has an injury, it affects the microbiome and the
Hmm.
gut inflammation, which of course you can treat with short chain fatty acids and
Yeah.
fats and such,
Yeah.
but it renders someone in their most vulnerable time when they need nutrition the most, the least able to absorb it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Um,
Hmm.
but it's interesting because the body, when exposed to some sort of trauma, right? We'll take brain, for example. Um, the body should either, it becomes inflamed. This is the natural course of
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah.
And either it goes through the entire process of healing, which is how we were designed to heal, or things get stuck,
Hmm.
and it falls into this trap, a detour, if we will,
Yeah.
of a chronic inflammation. And for the
Hmm.
brain, that can be chronic microglial activation. For a joint, it could be starting to build arthritis. For cardiovascular systems, it's
Hmm.
the accelerated building of plaque,
Hmm.
and the development of high blood pressure. And we see this, but at the cellular level, right? It creates the oxidative stress, and we have problems with oxygen in the environment, and then we see the development of cancer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this is the broad spectrum, same thing across the entire body, where if you focus on getting people unstuck at a cellular level,
Hmm.
turns out they get healthy,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
you pull the stick out of the spokes, you can ride your bike just fine, right? And
Amazing how that works.
it's how it works. And so it is the same thing that we do at a cellular level, that then promotes the healthy development of egg and sperm. And remember, we talked about this. Remember, there's this like 3 to 4 months,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing to realize that what we do right now affects the future self,
Hmm.
right? That we're regenerating our body in the
Yeah.
next 3 to 4 months. So you'll be a newer, healthier version of yourself. And that's the investment.
Yeah, it is the investment. And I know you say this and I say this all the time when I'm working with people that yes, I want you to feel better today. I want you to reach your goals today and tomorrow, but the stuff that we're doing now, the stuff that you're doing with people now is the stuff that impacts them when they're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 till the day they're no longer here, right? Because you're giving
Okay.
them tools, you're balancing bodies, right? I mean, but that's a big thing is you're giving them, and I hope that I'm giving them tools so when they don't need us anymore, they're like, okay, now I know how to work with my body. And this is sort of my biggest thing is to help people to stop fighting their body, because they come in, you can see in their eyes, right, that they're frustrated and angry and fed up with their body, and they don't know why their body's the enemy, and they don't know why all of this is happening. And it's this spinning frustration, and I've been there and you've been there, and you're like, well, how do I do this and how do I fix this? And I'm hoping to say, okay, your body's ultimate goal is to keep you alive, right?
Yeah.
So if we take that and say, I want to help you do your job. I'm here. Let's work together. Let's partner together to get to those goals. And so instead of fighting, and we need people oftentimes to come in and help us understand how to stop that fight, but look at it as I'm here to support. We're supporting each other. We're in this together. We really have no choice.
Yeah.
And let's work together and start to learn how to listen to what the symptoms are saying, right? It's all communication.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I also think this is where personalized medicine using precision genetics is so inspiring. And
Yeah.
I'd urged you to do some genetic studies so that we could continue to work together, because I use a test that many people, for many of my patients, and it's inspiring when you see what cards we're dealt, right? Yeah. And oftentimes people take on the inability to do something, or that they've always just turned out this way and everybody else has no issue with this, whether that's weight gain or cognition or all sorts of things, right? Yeah. Recovery, after they exercise, or just that they feel tired when everybody else has to get up and go run, and to help someone unlock an understanding of the cards they were dealt, because we didn't pick our parents, right? And we didn't pick how we grew up and what kind of house we grew up, or whether or not there was black mold in the basement, or whether our parents bought good food, right? And there's this age of reason where you become an adult, right? And adulting is hard. But these are people who are trying to take responsibility for their life, and to give them a roadmap to say, here's the cards you were dealt. This is why it hasn't worked out in these ways, or this is why you landed on those habits and that felt better, because of course this is how it's supposed to work. And so that's where this roadmap idea for life is nice. And what I'm hearing you say, but this is something that I tell people, is we're trying to keep them in the driver's seat of their health.
Yes, for sure.
Right. Instead of coming to a provider, what should I do? Right. It's getting in the front seat with them with a map and riding shotgun in their life
together.
Yeah. And so it really is a wonderful consultative role to sit alongside someone and their family. Right. And then it creates such a friendship. And so what we're finding is that people keep coming back to us, even though they're healthy, right? Because they feel finally someone actually is on their team, and which is unique in healthcare, because oftentimes they feel like a number, and right, and they just are kind of moved through the system. But if you take the time, then there's huge gains for everybody.
Agreed. I think that one of the things that I wanted to kind of add on to that was, we're talking about, personalized medicine to agree, personalized healthcare, personalized building your team, right? Because that's what we all need to do is build our team. So I can get the personalization for me, and that's not for everybody else, because I'm not everybody else. And so what we can do then, and this is, I talk to your patients and my clients about this, but it's, we take the information that we gain. So we're, running genetics, we're running labs, we're looking at goals, we're looking at symptoms, we're putting together history, including, a history of trauma, because it plays a big role in the manifestation of disease, right? And we can take it and we can layer all of this together to really create what you said is this roadmap, where we then teach the why behind it, right? And that's the biggest thing, is understanding the why behind what's going on, instead of just saying, this is what you have, here's your drug. This is the foundation, the root cause of what's happening, at least as far as we know. We can get a lot of information. There's still stuff that we're learning, right? And we can take that and build out that roadmap and layer all this data together. So it is based on that person, even if we're looking at preconception planning, right? You and your husband or your wife are two different people coming together to create. And so we've got to get both of you in this place, layering in data that's individualized, but bringing you together for this process. I mean, it's the most amazing thing where we are today, that we can do this and literally look at genetics and put all this stuff together and go, here you are, now let's get started. And here's why.
It's a wonderful opportunity. And we've really been grappling with the systems side of this, that no two people in our practice have the same plan. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of different plans for different patients.
It's hard.
In medicine, people like protocols. right?
Yeah.
And how do you keep things organized? And that's where I think we're really starting to accelerate, is to rapidly assess someone, to help them with a structured, honest, faith, good step forward in the beginning, to get them feeling better, making gains with cellular energy, and then helping with nutrition and calming down inflammation, and then helping to really tighten up key details of those plans as we have things emerge. And so we've got it pretty dialed in now to essentially a 3-month deliverable, which coincides with this idea that your body's going to regenerate in 3 months. And so it's been amazing, where it feels to me, based on the feedback that we're getting and the assessments that we're getting, that we have, essentially a unanimous success rate when you support people, and specifically for people who are interested in conception. In some ways, it feels like the clock is ticking on some of those folks, whether it's their own internal clock, or they feel pressure because all their other friends are having kids at the same time, or whatever that is. But we meet people who they feel that this is the time to invest. And so having a team where this is what we do, whether it's they're trying to conceive naturally, or that they're on the road to IVF, but they recognize they've had a couple failed IVF transfers, or something else. And so we're really looking to partner with the medical industry, but also people who are proactive.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll sort of roundabout, we'll get to the partnering and some of the services that you provide, because, and what I'm thinking of right now are, when we're, specifically looking at labs and looking at genetics, right? And so what happens a lot, I know you run a toxin panel pretty much on everybody. I do too. I think it's so important. And what we find are these environmental toxicants that are just overloading and overwhelming bodies, right? And so what is this doing? It's pushing the oxidative stress. It's pushing, the mitochondrial dysfunction. It's pushing inflammation. And so if we see this and we come to you, or, people are coming to you in order to be treated for these toxins, what is it that you're doing to help them to eliminate these toxins, which are going, it's, if there's mitochondrial dysfunction, you've got lots of energy necessary for egg production and sperm production, right? And if mitochondria aren't functioning properly, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have problems producing eggs and producing sperm. And so we want to eliminate or significantly reduce that burden.
Yeah. We typically start with what's called a morning shake. And this is, after literally hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people, where they end up needing very much similar things. And, I think we've all gone through our life cycle of, prescribing lots of little things individually versus saying, this is a good grouping. And so we've landed on that. And then there's some really interesting therapies that have been used for decades. Ozone autohemotherapy is something where when I came across it, I wasn't really familiar, but it's become a cornerstone of our treatment therapy. And the idea is it's a therapeutic stress. So much like push-ups or jogging or any form of exercise is a stress to your body that, injures it partially so that it could come back stronger and bigger and better. That scientists back in Europe in the 60s figured out that you could pull out blood, add small amounts of stress. More is not better. This is the idea of hormesis, right? And so then it's a toxicology principle, and then send it back in the body, and the body responds with anti-inflammatory cytokines and all these positive healing reactions, the NRF2 pathway, stimulating stem cell production. There's a host of antioxidant enzymes, catalase and superoxide dismutase. So there's all these things that happen. And so along with really smart therapies like giving people lipids, phosphatidylcholine, or using PEMF or hydrogen, these are foundational principles that treat people at a cellular, potentially molecular level, to help them flush out what this is, which is why we see more toxin excretion on our total tox after that autohemotherapy treatment. And then typically we're, working with the gut, and then we start chelating, pulling out toxic metals. It's fascinating. We could get into some of the more advanced stuff, but there's things that you can do to help pretty much every person, where you can see gains in your energy and function. And it's a measurable energy benefit. And so these people come in where maybe they thought, I'm pretty good. They normalize their life. And I think there's a great author who wrote a book called The Myth of Normal, how we end up succumbing to this idea of, well, I guess this is how it is. I guess I'm getting older. I guess this is what it feels like. And instead of relentless pursuit of amazing perfection, performance in themselves at the time when they are at the prime of their life. People, they succumb to this idea of, well, I guess I'm just going to coast, right? And this is where the difference between proactive healthcare or reactive healthcare. So there is this concept that you can help people. And we've had people, interestingly, to this point, we've had people come back, and there's this common MSQ, right? The medical symptom questionnaire. And they had checked like zeros, like, I feel fine, right? And I've had several people joke with me that they want to go back and change their answers because they feel better than they did before, and they thought they were fine. And that's been the part that just is a lot of fun.
It is interesting how you don't know how bad you feel until you feel good.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. And it, once you become sensitive, this idea of fidelity with your body, of listening to yourself. And I think people are at different levels of intuition with their body. But, we were talking about where sometimes, when you have some gluten or a glass of wine, or, you don't get enough sleep, people feel it, right? And that your body needs certain things, or needs to be kept away from certain things, right, that can affect your health in great ways. And so once people get that better, they realize that they were just living and just slogging along, surviving instead of thriving, like we talked about.
Right, for sure. Let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about ovarian reserve. I think that there is maybe not a full understanding of what that means, because I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't have the ovarian reserve needed, so I'm just done. And like, let's dig into that a little bit, because going back to, kind of building off of the oxidative stress and the inflammatory, the cytokines and all of the things that can happen that can, push the body over the edge to where it's just angry. Because, if it's got these other things it's working on, is it really going to work on sperm cells and egg cells and reproduction and all of this stuff? Or is it just going to try to keep you alive over here, right? And so what are your thoughts on ovarian reserve, and how can we help people understand that there's more to it than just that?
Sure. And this is my understanding, and I think that the medical community is learning a lot right now. So I tend to be attracted to people who are in pursuit rather than the people who know.
Yeah, sure.
Sense?
Of course.
And so I tend to be attracted to people who have lots
curiosity is very important.
That's right. So as I understand it from someone who reads a lot, is that the function of the body, whether it's an organ, right, is determined by its physiology. So whether that's the thyroid or the ovary, right? And so ovaries certainly, as we know, have a finite use capacity,
Yeah.
right? At some point, women enter menopause, and this is ubiquitous throughout women, right? So we know the ovaries can only produce hormones or eggs for so long.
Yeah.
And that is going to be affected by genetics, environmental things, and how we treat our body with exercise and diet and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So the ovarian reserve is measured in a couple different ways. People look at it with like hormone function, right? Looking at follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, or the amount of hormones that are produced, which can be tricky because that's affected by other things like endocrine disruptors, et cetera. But the egg production ability, people landed on a marker, the anti-Mullerian hormone, which kind of gives us an idea of like how many eggs might be left, right? And so there's this concept people have been using as an indirect marker of how much ovary function is left. Certainly people have been doing ultrasounds and looking at the number of oocytes as they're going through the cycle. And so people are trying to figure out a way to determine how well the ovary is functioning. We are taking the approach that as we improve nutrition and gut according to genetics, and as we remove toxins and that which inhibits us, and as we increase energy supply, and as we decrease xenoestrogens and balance people, that we can pulse the immune function with IV platelets, or even activating the body with what's a fascinating technology called V cells, very small embryonic-like stem cells. And it turns out that your body's ability to regenerate is locked inside the body. And so scientists have figured out ways to activate stem cells in the body using light.
It's amazing. I think it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, very special lasers that can activate the blood, and then you put it in people, and the body uses something called paracrine signaling, where, for example, an ankle sprain, that your body knows to go heal that spot. Yeah. Right. Because there's like cells that are saying over here, right? I'm hurt. Yeah. So we can activate certain parts of the body, and this is very early research, where they've seen people whose heart muscles worked better after lasering and using these B cells for their heart. But we're postulating that one can resuscitate the ovaries or the testicles to improve function. And so that's our hypothesis, because we've seen qualitatively people get better. Yeah. Right? We see people's their true age, that company True Diagnostic. We see people's biological function in their immune cells quantitatively improve. We see people whose biological function with VO2 testing, their metabolic output becomes that, instead of a 70-year-old, down to a 45-year-old. Right. And so we're seeing the function improve, and I don't see why we wouldn't be able to improve ovarian function. So we're starting an internal study to look at the anti-Mullerian hormone and ovarian function along with other hormones, and to see if once through this process that we can improve that test through stimulating the person's biology in a regenerative capacity. Amazing.
And so let's take that and move it on to sperm cells, because what we're seeing is with men, let me get my stat here, is that sperm counts have declined more than 50% from 1973 to 2011. And of course, that was a lot of years ago.
So it's even more now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's amazing for me to put that number. 50% is so huge that it's hard to even understand how that can be and what happens as we continue to move forward.
We
Right?
we have an existential crisis
Yeah.
for the human race, right?
Yeah.
And this like apocalyptic, thought process is not new. People, geneticists have been talking about this since the 60s and 70s, about there's a continuing trend in degradation. We see all the tumors and cancers and all this other stuff, right? It's not new news. But I also think it could be, correlated with the fact that we've made 50,000 new chemicals
I
since
mean,
then, right? And we're using all these things, and the quality of our food has changed, and increasing industrialization, et cetera. But to that point, it's not all doom and gloom, right? That we are, this is a simple test to order. It's an advanced semen analysis. Quest has it. There's multiple companies where not only looking at the sperm morphology and motility, there's qualitative things where they just look under a microscope, which is scientific, right? And this is what's used frequently in IVF. They just take the best looking sperm and make it go to the egg.
Right.
But there's other things about DNA fragmentation, right? Where we can determine what that sperm is made of. It's DNA, of course, and that we see that there's error in there, and we've mapped the human genome, right? This is not new stuff, right? We can clone sheep, we can clone organs. So this is very much advanced science and current. But we're able to repair genetics. There's some great peptides available that have been shown to improve DNA transcriptase error, and that have been shown to improve, since the 70s, right? Like Epitolon and GHKCU and a number of things. But again, our hypothesis is that that with the epigenetic modifications that we're doing for toxins, gut, nutrition, helping people with energy production according to their genetics, treating the inflammation in the body, and then waking up stem cells that have been proven to reside in the testicles and ovaries, that we believe that we can improve the quality of the sperm measurably with improved qualitative markers like morphology and swimming, right? But also potentially in count, and that we will see a reverse in the DNA fragmentation, which would be a home run. Right?
Yeah.
So we have some internal studies. I think we can do it. I think the patients are excited to get better. And what I think is that as people are seeking to understand themselves and to get some fairly non-invasive tests, that we'll be able to show a delta in numerous markers, and hopefully that ends up with a beautiful baby as well.
Yeah, so fun. So one of the things that is important to you, and I think important to any of us who are in this world of helping people to build their teams, right? So they can reach their goals, whatever their goals might be. In this case, it's pregnancy. But it's this collaborative approach to healthcare. So if couples are coming to you, they can still have their fertility team, right? And so this is the stuff where it's really working together as a healthcare community to help people. It's not a competition
at all. No. I'm so glad you brought this up. As a former emergency physician, my job is to work in the sandbox with other doctors, right? That we actually were team builders, right? We would call a specialist to load the boat for a patient. And that is 100% what we're doing. We collaborate with cardiology and oncology and people's family practice doctors and their surgeons or their dentists. The list goes on. And so if someone has an OBGYN or a fertility team, our job is to help provide supportive services to function as an additional specialist, helping with mitochondrial energy production, right?
Yep.
And that's really our role, is to be a part of the team, not necessarily to take over.
Yeah. I think it is important, and it's another, flag that I fly all the time, is you got to have your team, whatever that looks like. I know for me, I have to have my team because there are things that I don't like and I'm not good at. I've got my accountant, and I've got my bookkeeper, and I've got my VA, and these people who are supportive. And we have to do that in healthcare too, right? We have to find those people who are going to support us, who we trust, who we know have our best interests at heart, and all of us work along together. So it's a great place.
It is. And I just want to underscore the value of urology and OBGYN in this case. Because people can have structural issues, right? Like, you need someone to do a salpingogram to look at the uterus, and maybe they need an endometrial, surgery, right? And then, or, men can have like a varicocele or other things. And so there's structural issues that surgery has been treating for a long time that can make a massive difference. We're playing a part in a larger picture, and it just happens to be a part that's often overlooked, unfortunately. And so our goal is to work alongside the current medical system to, what do they say? A rising tide lifts all boats. Right. And the goal is really to bring health and abundance to our entire community, and for the people who are really seeking it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, let's talk a little bit about where you can be found, what you're doing, what's coming up, any of that fun stuff that you want people to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our medical practice is in Colorado, in Arvada. And our website is vivewell.health, VIVEWELL.health. Typically, people come and book a discovery session. They talk to somebody on the clinical team to talk about what's going on with them, to understand our process, how it works. We also have a referral page for providers. So vivewell.health, right at the top menu, it says refer, and we have an ability for providers to talk about the patient, upload MRI studies, their note, different, salpingograms or whatever it is. And so that's a HIPAA secure referral portal where a member of our team will be able to set up a time to consult with the patients. We have a number of referring providers who send in patients, and so we've created a system to rapidly onboard that as a consultative specialty.
Perfect. All right. Are there any fun therapies that you didn't talk about that you should talk about?
I think one of the ones that came up that many people seek us out for. Currently we have people, I would say several patients a week, flying in from out of state. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. But one of the therapies a lot of people are interested in doing is EBU, the blood filtration. This is a combination of the ozone autohemotherapy, which stimulates a healing response. But sometimes your body's not able to get rid of pharmaceutical breakdown products or environmental toxins or other things, just because genetically you can't get rid of, or because of the load that it puts on your detox. And so people are really trying to accelerate that. And it goes back about 25 years. People started using dialysis filters to help filter the blood. And so this is a combination, a hybrid dialysis program that we use to accelerate the detoxification. And so this is something that we're using, and there's numerous studies to back this up as a therapy of showing decreased metals, decreased environmental toxins, decreased spike proteins from the COVID. And so this is a tool that we're using in addition to the true dose platelet therapy, the V cells, and other therapies. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, I want to include mycotoxins in there as well, only because, we've got such a problem with mycotoxins. Mold issues are showing up in so many people that this can be beneficial for people with mold mold illness as well. Yeah.
I'm sorry if I did not say that, but and mycotoxins is massive. It's part of my journey as a SIRS patient myself. But EBU has helped me, and you know, all the binders. A good friend of mine, Nikki, once told me that, you know, lasting binder therapy is probably one of the core tenets of a healthy person, and I've adopted that thanks to you.
Amazing. Good. Well, this has been super fun. I always enjoy talking with you so much. And so I appreciate you joining me. And it's been a long time coming. I know that we tried to get this, you know, it's just the schedule is so far out, but we'll do it again for sure. Hopefully as soon as possible.
And many more. And many more.
Yeah.
So Nikki, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, cool. We'll see you later. Have a good weekend. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all the heroes.
Yes, amazing. See you later.